Marcus Langford fell head over heels for the female college student we were sponsoring together. To marry her, he cut ties with his folks and pushed to end our engagement. Later on, the college girl vanished, and Marcus had a change of heart and tied the knot with me instead. A decade down the line, my company got snatched up by the Langford family. My parents passed away, and Marcus had me locked up in a mental hospital. "This is your karma for breaking up Sophia and me," he declared. When I woke up, I found myself back 10 years earlier, right on the day Marcus wanted to call off our engagement. Facing Marcus's parents, who wouldn't agree to annul the engagement, I grinned and said, "Since you two really love each other, Mr. and Mrs. Langford, let them be together." As for my engagement with Marcus, let's annul it right here in front of everyone. When Marcus came to see me, I had been tortured out of shape, not sure if I was genuinely sick or not. As soon as he showed up, I rushed towards him, wanting to ask why he was acting this way. But before I could get close, the iron chain on my ankle tripped me up. My head hit the ground by Marcus's feet, making me look super pathetic. The doctor who came in with Marcus explained, "Miss Carter is seriously ill and keeps trying to escape, so we had to chain her up." While talking, he kept an eye on Marcus's face, not wanting to offend the guy who was now at the top of North City. But Marcus acted like he didn't hear him, keeping the same look he had when he walked in, staring down at me condescendingly. After a while, I heard him speak. "Olivia Carter, living a life worse than death isn't fun, right?" "Why?" I looked up and asked. With just a glance from Marcus, everyone else tactfully left the room. It was just the two of us now. He slowly crouched down in front of me. With a harsh smile, he said, "This is your payback for breaking up Sophia and me." Sophia? I thought for a moment before remembering a vague image. So he'd never forgotten Sophia Reyes all these years. Back then, I pushed Sophia away and forced Marcus to marry me. "Olivia, you never thought you'd end up like this, did you?" Marcus's tough shoe pressed down on my hand, grinding it. I winced in pain. Back then, Sophia clearly left after taking money from Mrs. Langford, so how did it become my fault for driving her away? Plus, later on, it was Marcus and his parents who came to my place to ask for the marriage. It was definitely them who begged me to marry Marcus. "When did I ever force you?" I didn't know which word ticked him off, but Marcus suddenly grabbed my neck. "If I didn't marry you, would your dad have helped the Langford family through the crisis? If this isn't forcing, what is?" My dad's full-on support turned into coercion in your eyes. "So you maliciously took over my dad's company, ruining my family?" I looked at Marcus, stunned. After Sophia left, Marcus had knelt before me, admitting his mistake and begging for forgiveness for his momentary lapse. I thought he was genuinely sorry, so I remembered our childhood friendship, forgave him, and agreed to marry him. Today is Sophia's death anniversary. Marcus's grip on my neck tightened suddenly. "Is Sophia already dead? Olivia Carter, go and atone for your sins to her." Under Marcus's orders, they had been force-feeding me meds for a while. Even now, no matter how much I didn't want to, I couldn't find the strength to fight back. If only I could go back 10 years. I thought this as I lost consciousness. The moment I saw Marcus with Sophia, I realized I had been reborn. In my past life, he did the same thing. At Mr. Langford's birthday bash, without caring about anyone's feelings, he brought Sophia right in front of me. He said, "Olivia Carter, Sophia and I truly love each other, so I want to break off my engagement with you." I hadn't recovered from the shock of rebirth and could only stare blankly at Marcus's determined face. It was Mrs. Langford standing next to me who pulled me back. She frowned and stood between me and Marcus, speaking sternly. "Today is your father's birthday party. What nonsense are you causing in front of so many guests? I want to break off my engagement with Olivia." The big banquet hall went silent and everyone stared at Marcus. Everything was just like in my previous life. My parents had given the Langford family one last bit of dignity by not causing a scene and instead asking Marcus, "Marcus, do you even know what you're saying?" Marcus turned to look at Sophia, who was hiding beside him, and said solemnly, "Mr. Carter, I don't love Olivia. I want to end my engagement with her." As soon as he finished, Mr. Langford rushed over and slapped Marcus across the face. "You ungrateful kid. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll beat you to death right here." No one dared to step in. Seeing Mr. Langford about to strike again, my dad stopped him. "Mr. Langford, My dad glanced at me and continued, "Since your son's not willing, let's forget about it. A forced relationship isn't sweet, and narcissism isn't unmarriageable. This engagement." In my past life, my parents weren't happy with this marriage. It was only because my grandfather had arranged it, and they thought I liked Marcus that they didn't say anything. Now, with the Langford family publicly proposing to end the engagement, they were more than willing. But Marcus's parents disagreed. "This is a marriage arranged by our parents. Marcus's nonsense can't be taken seriously." Mrs. Langford knew my parents had always looked down on Marcus, so she tried to persuade me. "Olivia, you and Marcus have been together for so long. You can't just end it like this. Don't worry, leave this to me. I'll definitely explain." Indeed, in my previous life, it was Mrs. Langford who stepped in, using threats and bribes, eventually giving Sophia $2 million to make her leave Y City. But 10 years later, Marcus blamed me and my parents for not being able to be with Sophia. Thinking of the resentment from my past life, I looked down and brushed off Mrs. Langford's hand. "Mrs. Langford, since Marcus says you two truly love each other, you should let them be together. As for my engagement with Marcus, let's end it in front of everyone today." My voice wasn't loud, but everyone present heard it clearly. Mrs. Langford wanted to persuade me, but my dad stopped her. "Since your son wants to call off the engagement and our Olivia agrees, then it's settled." After saying that, they took me away. On the way, my parents said many comforting words to me. Looking at my parents, whom I hadn't seen in a long time, my nose tingled, and I couldn't help but cry. My dad, just like when I was a kid, held me in his arms. Don't cry. Our Olivia should always be happy. It's just a guy. Dad will find you a better one in the future." They all thought I was sad because of Marcus. Only I knew I was grateful that heaven favored me and gave me a chance to be reborn, letting me see my parents again. As soon as we got home, my dad mysteriously went into the study. Passing by, I heard him talking on the phone, seemingly mentioning me. Even though I was reborn, I still had the same nightmares from my past life. Early in the morning, I woke up from a nightmare. When I came out of my bedroom, I heard the doorbell ringing. Opening the door, a familiar yet strange man stood outside. Even though his almost perfect face was still familiar, his vibe was totally different from when he was 18. "Uncle Ethan?" I said, surprised. Ethan Morgan was also stunned for a moment when he saw me. Hearing me call him, he smiled slightly. "Why you so chill now? You never used to call me that before." Ethan was called to the study by my dad. When my mom asked me to bring some fruit, I overheard him saying, "I arrived around 4 in the morning. The old house wasn't ready, so I came straight here. I knew you wake up early, so I dared to disturb you." Didn't expect it'd be Olivia who opened the door. My dad frowned, looking kinda annoyed. "You waited outside for more than 3 hours? Why didn't you knock? We have guest rooms?" Seeing me standing there, my dad suddenly stopped talking. "This is Ethan Morgan, your grandpa's best friend's youngest son. Do you remember him?" he asked me. Seeing me nod, my dad's smile turned meaningful. "Good that you remember. Breakfast is ready, courtesy of the housemaid." At the dining table, my parents kept asking Ethan how he had been living abroad these years. With my older brother and sister around, you know my brother's temper. Ethan smiled helplessly, composed and elegant. I had no impression of Ethan's older brother. After his dad passed away, almost everyone in the Morgan family went abroad. Only Ethan stuck around North City to finish high school, but his dad had him in his later years, and the family doted on Ethan, especially his older brother and sister. So, over the years, Ethan should have been doing well abroad. Just as my dad was about to ask something else, the maid came in and said there were guests. "It's the Langford couple with their son. We brought him to apologize to you." My parents' friendly demeanor from earlier when facing Ethan turned stern, and they told them to leave. "This matter is over. No need for apologies." Mrs. Langford walked over to me. "They've been in love for so long. How can it just end like this? Olivia, I know you genuinely like Marcus. Look." Before she could finish, Marcus, who had followed in, saw Ethan and suddenly asked me, "Why is he back?" Everyone's eyes turned to Ethan simultaneously. My dad coughed twice, displeased. "Ethan is a guest of our family." He glanced at Marcus. then turned to look at Mr. Langford. Mr. Langford, it was your Marcus who publicly ended the engagement. We made everything clear in front of everyone yesterday. Words once spoken can't be taken back. This engagement is void. I don't think there's a need for apologies. We have guests. Please leave. My dad's firm attitude and harsh words left Marcus's parents in an awkward spot. The atmosphere got tense and awkward. I just got back and have some stuff to handle. I'll visit another day. Ethan looked at his watch, then stood up and said to my dad, in my memory, he was always like this. Despite being pampered growing up, Ethan never showed any signs of arrogance. Instead, he was more well-mannered and knew when to step up or back off. Given the current situation at my house, it was indeed inappropriate for him to stay. My dad went to see Ethan out, and Marcus looked at me with a mixed expression, his tone somewhat harsh. We just ended the engagement yesterday, and Ethan's back today. Quick move, huh? This remark made me recall events from long ago. I always felt that before Sophia showed up, Marcus might have loved me. He used to get jealous when other guys were around me. When I said I wanted to eat wontons at night, he'd search all over North City for them. But all those past events are now bygones. And now Sophia has replaced me as the person Marcus cares about most. Mrs. Langford, you should go back. Marcus has found his true love, and I genuinely wish him well. I ignored Marcus, pulling my hand out of Mrs. Langford's grasp. Just as I was about to turn and go upstairs, I heard Marcus shout behind me, Olivia, do you think I came to beg you today? Do you think I wanted to come? Besides having a good background and good parents, what else do you have over Sophia? I frowned and turned around, not understanding why he suddenly said these things. Before I could speak, Mr. Langford's slap had already landed on Marcus's face. Did you forget what you promised your mom and me before coming here? You all heard it. Olivia has decided to sever ties with our family, Marcus shouted, holding his neck stiffly. If that's the case, why do you still force me to beg her? Why not let me marry Sophia? Besides her background, what does Sophia lack compared to you? Watching Marcus make a fool of himself, I suddenly started to laugh. I curved my lips. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Langford, you two truly love each other. You should just let them be together. In my past life, Marcus blamed me for standing in the way, preventing him and Sophia from having a happy ending. In this life, I want to see if without me, they can truly live happily ever after. My words definitely added fuel to the fire. Not only did Mr. Langford want to hit him in front of everyone, but Mrs. Langford also started scolding him. At that moment, a figure suddenly rushed in from outside. The housemaid tried to stop her, but failed. I recognized her as Sophia Reyes. She came up and shielded Marcus. Mr. and Mrs. Langford, it's all my fault. If you want to hit someone, hit me. It's my stupidity for loving Marcus. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Then she turned to me. Olivia, please forgive me. Marcus did nothing wrong. It's all my fault. I couldn't control my heart. I coldly watched Sophia pretending to be pitiful in front of me, saying nothing. This scene became more and more ridiculous, and my mom couldn't stand it any longer. She directly called the security from the community to come and kick them out. The affair between Marcus and me became the talk of North City. People were gossiping behind our backs. Even at a press conference, the way people looked at me was different. It wasn't until Marcus showed up at the press conference with Sophia that the attention shifted a bit. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw staff leading the two of them towards me. I glanced up at the seating arrangement made by the organizers. Indeed, Marcus's seat was in the same row as mine, with only one seat in between. This row was at the front, considered the main seats of the press conference. After Marcus sat down, Sophia also prepared to sit beside him. I raised an eyebrow and smiled, saying nothing. Sure enough, the next moment, a staff member stopped her. Miss, this is the main seat area. Please go to the guest seats in the back. The staff member's voice wasn't loud, but it was enough for those of us sitting nearby to hear. When Marcus and Sophia came over, everyone's eyes were already on them. With this happening, people were even more interested in watching the drama unfold. Sophia stood awkwardly, feeling lost under everyone's gaze, quickly explaining for herself. I came with Marcus. The staff member politely said, Mr. Langford didn't inform us in advance that he would bring someone over. All the seats in this row are taken. Please go to the back and find a seat. Sophia still didn't move, clutching the hem of her dress and looking at Marcus. In the dim light, you could still see the sparkle in Sophia's eyes, unsure if it was makeup or tears from being scared. Marcus stood beside her, comforting her in a low voice, seemingly asking her to sit at the back first. It's my first time at such an event. I'm scared without you by my side. Sophia glanced at me, her voice trembling as she spoke. Then sit here. Marcus had already softened, pulling Sophia to sit down. The staff member spoke again. Mr. Langford, this seat is already taken. Please don't make things difficult for us. The people around started whispering. What's this woman thinking? Doesn't she know her place? Trying to take the main seat? Not even married yet, and she already thinks she's Mrs. Langford. I could hear these comments, and so could Marcus and Sophia. Sophia stopped her movements, and even Marcus looked embarrassed. I said nothing, not even looking at them, just sitting quietly in my seat. But someone just couldn't stand me staying out of it. Marcus suddenly called my name. Olivia, what are you smiling at? I turned my head in confusion. Was I smiling? I hadn't noticed. Maybe I just couldn't help it. Sophia is here for the first time. It's understandable she didn't know. Oh, I nodded. It's Sophia's first time attending. Is it your first time too? You love her so much. Why didn't you tell her in advance to avoid making her look foolish? Marcus's face darkened, and just as he was about to say something, the lights in the venue suddenly brightened. There was a commotion at the entrance, and everyone looked over, including me. The person entering was Ethan Morgan, dressed in a sharp and proper suit, looking completely different from when he showed up at my doorstep the other day. Seeing him walk over, many of North City's elites approached him to chat. Even though the Morgan family's main business had moved abroad, they still held a unique status in North City. Ethan maintained a polite but distant smile. In a moment when he raised his eyes, our gazes met. I was slightly stunned, then smiled politely and acted like nothing happened, looking away. Marcus and Sophia were still standing there. The staff member spoke again. Mr. Langford, please have this lady go to the back and find a seat. As he spoke, Ethan had already approached. He glanced at Marcus and Sophia standing there. Then he walked straight to me, extending his hand. Olivia, long time no see. I assumed he was treating me specially out of respect for my dad. The staff member was still urging Sophia to leave. When I turned to look, Marcus was staring blankly at the hands clasped together between Ethan and me. Someone joked, Marcus, if you don't want to make her uncomfortable, just take her to the guest seats in the back. Unexpectedly, Marcus really took her to the back. I sneered inwardly, he truly liked Sophia. But moving from the main seat to the guest seat was easy. Trying to get back to the main seat later wouldn't be so simple. Ethan's appearance at the press conference had everyone speculating why he returned to the country. I asked my dad, the Morgan family's business is all abroad, so why did Ethan suddenly come back now? My dad gave me a meaningful look. If he wants to come back, he comes back. Why do you care so much? As if suddenly thinking of something, he sat down next to me and stared at me, asking, why? Do you care about him a lot? I shook my head. No, I'm just a bit curious. In my memory, in my past life, Ethan didn't return to the country at this time. I only remember that on the day I married Marcus, my dad received a phone call, and afterward, he seemed a bit distracted during the wedding. It was much later that I heard from others that Ethan had passed away. Speaking of which, the day he had his accident was the same day as your wedding to Marcus. My rebirth seemed to have indeed changed many things. I broke off my engagement with Marcus, and Ethan didn't die on my wedding day. That weekend, my parents invited Ethan over for dinner. During dinner, they joked about Ethan and me when we were kids. Back then, we wanted Olivia to call you uncle, but she just wouldn't. Ethan smiled and glanced at me. Now she can call me that. Ethan is only a year older than me, and we used to play together a lot as kids, so calling him uncle was indeed hard for me. I was just a kid, I responded casually. My dad was in a good mood and had drunk some wine, so he was chattier than usual. When you were little, you were all about looks. You thought Ethan was handsome and stuck to him every day, even saying you wanted to marry him. Everyone laughed at that. Ethan pressed his lips together, his eyes full of amusement. A blush spread across my face, reaching my earlobes. I wasn't embarrassed by my dad's words. Instead, I silently praised my younger self for having good taste. Ethan is indeed very good looking, both as a child and now. After dinner, my parents asked me to see Ethan off, but on the way, we ran into Marcus and Sophia. Marcus lived in the same neighborhood as us, and they were standing outside the Langford family's villa looking like they had just come out. I heard Sophia sobbing softly. Your parents look down on me. They think I'm just a poor student from a humble family. They like Olivia Carter. They think only Olivia is good enough for you. Marcus was patiently comforting her, but his words were stepping on me. Olivia just got lucky being born into a good family. She's fake and pretentious. Besides her family background, she's got nothing on you. Sophia's mood seemed to improve, really, but everyone says Olivia is prettier than me. I don't think so. Olivia's looks are just average. To me, you're the prettier one. Unconsciously, Ethan and I had stopped, standing there listening to Marcus and Sophia belittling me. We weren't far from Marcus. He soon noticed me. Olivia? Marcus looked at me, then at Ethan standing beside me. It's so late. What are you two doing together? With Ethan there, I didn't want to argue with Marcus in front of him. When I reached out to pull Ethan away, he didn't move. I thought Mr. Langford had poor eyesight and couldn't see us. This was the first time I heard Ethan speak to someone in such an unfriendly tone. He glanced at me, then at Sophia. If you have eye problems, go see a doctor, Marcus. With that, he bent down, took my hand, and walked past Marcus and Sophia. After we walked a bit, I heard Sophia crying again. Marcus was still comforting her, but his tone was slightly irritated. We walked a bit further before Ethan let go of my hand. Sorry, I knew he was apologizing for holding my hand earlier. It's okay, I waved it off nonchalantly. It was a month later when we found out Sophia was pregnant. That woman even has a child now. Shouldn't the Langford family let her in? I think it will happen soon. The two people talking were female companions brought by Ethan's friends. At this time, I was sitting on the sofa in the club, half-heartedly listening to their conversation. Only I knew that the Langford family's financial problems were gradually becoming apparent, and there was no way Marcus's parents would let Sophia in. They were still counting on my Carter family to help them out. When Ethan placed a dessert in front of me, a few people at the poker table behind us let out a burst of ambiguous laughter. Ethan, we've been waiting for you, and you were just getting dessert for Miss Carter? Don't I have any waiters here? These people included some rich kids who had just returned to the country and some old acquaintances of Ethan in North City. While they chatted, I ate the dessert Ethan had brought me, but my ears were always tuned to their conversation. Hearing them mention the Langford family, I couldn't help but smile. I thought it was worth my effort to get close to Ethan, to show him goodwill and let him bring me into this circle. The Langford family somehow got the news and had already contacted people from my company. Hearing this, I put down my spoon. Ethan, who had been chatting with them, immediately looked up at me. Seeing the dessert barely touched, he asked me, "Don't like it?" I shook my head. "I'm cutting back on sugar lately." He nodded and had someone take it away. His friends were calling him over to play cards, but Ethan didn't go immediately. Instead, he turned to me and asked, "Want to play cards?" I looked into his eyes, pretending to hesitate for a moment. "I don't know how." "No problem, I'll teach you." Ethan led me to the card table and sat down. "If you lose, it's on me. If you win, it's yours." As soon as he finished speaking, those people started laughing again. "All on Ethan? Then let's play big." Ethan seemed to be waiting for this remark, and he looked up at the speaker. "How about we bet on the deal between your family and the Langford family?" He smiled nonchalantly, but his light words left the people at the table a bit shocked. "If we win, the Langford family's deal goes to the Carter family. If I lose, I'll give you the project I mentioned a few days ago." Jesus! The person opposite me stared at Ethan in disbelief. "The Langford family deal is only a few million, but your project is worth over $1 billion. Hearing this, I was also stunned, but Ethan still had an indifferent expression. He smiled and asked the other party, "Bet or not?" The other party glanced at me. "Bet?" If Ethan dares to use a $1 billion project to make a beauty smile, what's the Langford family's deal? Thinking about Ethan's $1 billion project, my hand holding the cards trembled a bit. Ethan seemed to notice and bent down to whisper in my ear, "Don't worry, just play." Luckily, we won in the end. I can't believe I lost this. The person across the table threw the cards back on the table. Ethan lowered his eyes to look at me, just smiled without saying a word, his expression still very calm. I, however, breathed a sigh of relief. When the Langford family's deal was mentioned again, I smiled and spoke up. "Don't worry, the Langford family's promise is the same as the Carter family's. We won't let you lose out on this deal." As I left the club, I saw Marcus staggering out of the hotel next door. I happened to know the person coming out with him. He was a manager from the company of the guy who had been sitting opposite me earlier. Marcus was all smiles and personally saw the manager off to his car. When he turned around, he saw me and froze for a moment. Sophia, who was standing beside Marcus, noticed his reaction and looked over as well. She whispered something in Marcus's ear, and the two of them left together. "The Langford family is bound to be ruined by Marcus Langford," someone scoffed. "Taking a pregnant woman along for business talks? What a lack of propriety. Don't you know? Nowadays, that young master of the Langford family takes that woman with him everywhere." After they left, I heard the remaining people sneer. The next morning, on my way to the company, I received a call from Marcus. "Olivia, did you do it on purpose?" I curved my lips into a smile. "Isn't this how business works?" This was the exact phrase Marcus had said to me in my past life when he maliciously took over my company. Now, I was giving it back to him word for word. "You're targeting me and the Langford family just because I broke off our engagement? I'm really glad I ended things with you back then. The thought of spending my life with someone like you makes me sick," Marcus said, his tone a bit frantic. "Is that so?" I retorted with a cold laugh. "Given the current situation of the Langford family, do I even need to target you? Marcus, do you think a single business deal can revive the Langford family? You're too naive. I suggest you go home and find out the real situation of the Langford family first." What a joke! If a single business deal could save the Langford family, then, in my past life, Marcus's parents wouldn't have desperately forced him to marry me. I think after Sophia disappeared in my past life, Marcus compromised and came to beg for my forgiveness, probably because he realized the Langford family's situation. Marcus's parents only confessed the Langford family's situation after our marriage. And in the end, my father, for my sake, exhausted everything to barely save the Langford family from the brink of bankruptcy. But later, when Marcus gained power, the first thing he did was maliciously take over my company. On the phone, Marcus suddenly fell silent, and after a long time, he asked, "Then why did you take away this business deal? Why?" Because I wanted Marcus to experience the despair my family went through in my past life. I wanted him to watch hope gradually slip away. I wanted him to feel the same rage I felt when my family was driven to the brink of bankruptcy. And my father, after drinking himself into a stomach hemorrhage, managed to secure a business deal only for it to be snatched away by Marcus the next day. I didn't answer and hung up the phone directly. Given the current situation of the Langford family, if I wanted to take advantage of their plight, they would have to declare bankruptcy by tomorrow. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see Marcus struggle desperately. I wanted him to understand that even without me, Olivia Carter, standing in their way, he and Sophia would never end well. The next time I saw Marcus was at a charity gala. It had been a few months since we last met, and he had lost a lot of weight. He seemed different from before. I was surprised not to see Sophia by his side this time. When Marcus saw me, he was visibly stunned, his eyes filled with complex emotions. He approached me and started a conversation, his tone markedly different from before. "Long time no see." I didn't want to engage with him, but Marcus kept talking. "You never used to like attending these kinds of events. There were a few times I asked you to accompany me, and you refused." I frowned. The memories were too distant. I seemed to have forgotten what he was talking about. "You're here with Ethan Morgan, right?" Marcus suddenly shifted the topic to Ethan. Annoyed, I responded with a curt hum, then turned and met Ethan's gaze. Ethan had been smiling until he saw Marcus standing beside me. I didn't know what he whispered to the person next to him, but that person also turned to look at me. Then Ethan strode towards me. I put down my wine glass, ignoring the still chatting Marcus, and walked towards Ethan. For some reason, I felt that Ethan seemed upset. When we sat in the VIP section prepared by the organizers, this feeling became even more apparent. Previously, whenever we attended such events together, Ethan's attention was always on me. But now he had been talking to the person next to him for a long time, as if deliberately avoiding looking at me. I coughed lightly. Ethan sighed softly, raised his hand to ask a staff member for a cup of hot water. If your throat is uncomfortable, don't drink alcohol. When I took the hot water, I asked him, Ethan, are you upset? Ethan neither confirmed nor denied it. He simply said, I don't have the right to be upset right now. A puzzling statement, but I suddenly understood. That person behind him had been staring at me for a long time. Aren't you going to say something to him? His tone was obviously tinged with jealousy. I didn't need to turn around to know he was talking about Marcus, who had been watching me. Marcus was sitting in the regular guest section, a good distance away from me. Throughout the gala, Marcus was either looking at me or seizing opportunities to talk to a foreigner. I knew that foreigner well. He was a notable figure in the investment banking world. In my past life, after the Langford family disclosed their situation, my dad went to great lengths to connect with this overseas investor to get him to help the Langford family. I hadn't expected Marcus to approach him on his own in this life. A sudden thought flashed through my mind. Seeing me staring over there, Ethan also glanced in that direction. He then asked, Mr. Hobbs is a friend of mine. Do you want to meet him? I withdrew my gaze and looked at Ethan beside me. I intentionally got close to you before, hoping you'd introduce me to your friends. You must have noticed that. Ethan chuckled and nodded. Now I want to meet that overseas investor. Are you willing to take me over? He still nodded, his eyes soft and loving, even his smile indulgent. Of course I am. I frowned, staring at him for a long time before asking the question in my heart. Ethan, do you like me? Thinking about Marcus's unusual behavior that day. While chatting with a friend, I asked, how are Marcus and Sophia doing? Is the Langford family still not letting her in? My friend paused, perhaps surprised that I brought up Marcus. After Sophia lost the baby, Marcus kicked her out of North City. What? I hadn't heard about that. Because of your relationship with Marcus, everyone is afraid to mention it in front of you. The Langford family's business had problems, and Marcus was extremely busy during that time. Sophia kept causing trouble, suspecting him of having someone else. During one of their arguments, somehow, Sophia lost the baby. By the way, did you know Marcus faints at the sight of blood? Marcus faints at the sight of blood? I've known him for 2 lifetimes and never knew that. When Sophia had a miscarriage, she bled heavily, and Marcus fainted at the sight of the blood. When he woke up, everyone said he had changed. Hearing this, my heart sank. It seems my guess was right. Maybe Marcus Langford, like me, was reborn. The overseas investor I met at the party last time is hosting a banquet in North City soon. I begged my dad to get me an invitation. My dad looked at me meaningfully and said, Ethan is really familiar with that foreigner. Why don't you just ask him to take you? I don't want to bother him. My dad glanced at me and said softly, he'd be more than happy to be bothered by you. Suddenly, I remembered the day I asked Ethan if he liked me. He was silent for a long time before he said softly, You just realized? Why is your face so red? My dad touched my forehead. It's getting colder. Don't catch a cold. After saying this, he got up and prepared to go upstairs. I stopped him. Dad, did you ask Ethan to come back? My dad shook his head. I just told him that your engagement was off, and he immediately booked a flight back. That night, I received a call from Ethan. Your dad said you want to go to Mr. Hobbs' banquet. Thinking about everything that had happened, I felt a bit awkward hearing his voice on the phone. After a muffled response, Ethan said, Do you need me to pick you up tomorrow? His low, husky voice through the phone made my whole body tingle. I declined. No, I can go by myself. After a moment of silence, just as I was about to hang up, I suddenly heard Ethan call my name. Olivia. The way he said this word always sent a shiver down my spine. You said you would consider me. Have you thought about it? I felt like a cat whose tail had been stepped on and hurriedly hung up the phone. At that time, I just said that to brush him off. But Ethan took it seriously. While waiting outside for Ethan, I ran into Marcus. I turned my head, pretending not to see him, but Marcus approached me without hesitation. Olivia, you've come back too, haven't you? even though I had already guessed it. Hearing him say it still felt unbelievable. Marcus's smile was a bit dim. He said, "You hate me, don't you?" Without waiting for my response, he continued talking. "I'm sorry, I misunderstood you in our last life. After you died, I found out that Sophia took money from my mom to leave. From the beginning, she only approached me for money. Olivia." Marcus looked at me with deep affection. "I'm sorry. Can you forgive me one more time? Let's start over in this life. Be my wife again, and give me a chance to make it up to you." I stared at Marcus's hypocritical face and said calmly, "No." "Why should I forgive you?" Marcus's face showed even more sadness. "After Sophia appeared in our last life, didn't you forgive me once, Olivia? Why not this time? You like me, don't you? You've always liked me. So what does my liking you mean? I deserve to be mistreated?" "Olivia," Ethan's voice came from above my head. It wasn't until he draped a coat over my shoulders that I realized my body was trembling slightly from the sudden warmth. "Why are you waiting outside in such cold weather?" Ethan asked, ignoring Marcus and showing his concern for me. I smiled, looking up at him. "Didn't you have something to do today? Why did you still come?" As he passed by Marcus, Ethan glanced at him. "I was worried you'd be bothered by someone inexplicable." After saying that, he took me inside. At the banquet, Marcus stayed close to that overseas investor. From a distance, I watched the smile on his face and guessed he probably had reached an agreement. When Marcus noticed my gaze and looked over, I sipped my wine. Even I didn't realize my lips were curved upwards. "What are you smiling at, Olivia?" Ethan suddenly asked me. He had been by my side all evening, so none of my small actions escaped his notice. Ethan rubbed his fingers together and whispered, "I thought you came to make sure Marcus didn't succeed." Suddenly, his mood turned somber. Even his gaze on me became darker. "Olivia, you still can't let him go, can you? Do you still like Marcus Langford?" As expected, in the end, Marcus's parents came to ask my dad for help. That overseas investor isn't a fool. He wouldn't just throw billions at Marcus based on a few words. They want financing, but where can we find that much money now? "In-law, only you can save our family." My dad had a stern face. "Mr. Langford, our families have already canceled the engagement. Let's not call each other in-laws anymore. As for what you mentioned, let me think about it for 2 days." After sending them off, my dad asked me, "If you still like Marcus, I will find a way to help them. But Olivia, you need to think it through. I've lived 2 lifetimes, and it seems everyone thinks I'm deeply in love with Marcus. But I know myself, I don't have such deep feelings for him." I took a sip of water and persuaded my dad to agree to them. Since the Langford family is failing, we should spend some money to acquire the Langford Group. This way, all the hard-earned investments Marcus has been seeking will become my stepping stone. They will agree. There are few people in North City capable of taking over now. If they don't agree, the Langford family will have to declare bankruptcy and bear huge debts. My dad was stunned. "Since when did you become so knowledgeable about business matters?" I smiled without explaining much. "Our Olivia has really grown up," my dad said while wiping his tears. "I'm relieved you can let go of Marcus." He said earnestly, "That overseas investor is Ethan's friend. Even he thought you would save the Langford family because of Marcus." I suddenly realized I hadn't seen Ethan for a long time. At the last party, he seemed to have misunderstood something. He left without giving me a chance to explain, only having his driver take me home. "Olivia, my dad called me. If you don't like Marcus anymore, would you consider Ethan? Dad will tell you today. Ethan has liked you for many years. He insisted on staying in North City to finish high school because of you. After the college entrance exams, you got together with that Langford boy, so he went abroad." I was stunned for a moment. In high school, someone did say Ethan liked me, but I didn't believe it at the time. Not only because I had an engagement with Marcus, but also because I always thought someone as perfect as Ethan couldn't possibly like anyone. He shouldn't have any worldly desires, always standing at the top with a pure heart. Back then, I probably idolized Ethan. "Did you and Ethan have a fight?" my dad suddenly asked. I didn't say anything. In the evening, my parents were out for some reason and hadn't come back. When the doorbell rang, I thought it was them returning, but the person standing outside was Ethan. He looked a bit anxious, holding a bag, clearly having come straight from the company. Why are you here? Your parents said you were sick? We spoke at the same time. After understanding the situation, Ethan and I exchanged a smile. When he was about to leave, I called him, Ethan. Ethan turned around, looking at me, waiting for what I had to say next. That day you asked me if I still liked you. I paused. I'm answering you now. I don't like him. Not at all. My dad was right. It's been getting colder lately. So when Ethan suddenly rushed over to hug me, I found his embrace so warm. Why explain to me? His head was buried in my neck, his voice muffled as he spoke. Because I don't want you to misunderstand. The day we signed the contract with the Langford family, Mr. and Mrs. Langford looked at the contract and refused to sign it. Marcus stared at me in silence for a long time before finally signing the contract. As he handed me the signed contract, he asked, after signing the contract, can we put our past behind us? Only he and I knew he was referring to what he did to me and my family in our previous lives. Marcus believed that since he maliciously annexed my company in our past life, and I took advantage of the situation to acquire his family's company in this life, we were now even. I smiled and put away the contract without answering. As I was about to leave, Marcus stopped me. Olivia, I was really wrong. Will you give me another chance? Wait for me to make a comeback and we can get engaged again. Before he could finish, Ethan had already walked in. Ethan greeted my dad with a smile and then said, I'm here to take Olivia to try on the dress. My dad nodded quickly and let us go about our business. As we reached the door, I heard my dad say to Mr. Langford, our Olivia is getting engaged to Ethan. We hope you can come to the engagement party. Upon hearing this, Marcus suddenly went crazy and rushed out to stop Ethan and me. Olivia, you can't get engaged to him. What right does he have to marry you? I said, because he's a good match for me? Marcus, after today, you won't even have the right to appear in front of me anymore. When I saw the trending news about Marcus, Ethan and I were still at our engagement party. #Sophia Reyes body found. #police have evidence of Marcus Langford murder. Marcus Langford arrested. After knowing that Marcus had been reborn, I guessed he wouldn't let Sophia go, so I had been secretly searching for her whereabouts. What are you doing here? Ethan found me outside the villa. He glanced at my high heels. Are you tired? I shook my head. It's too stuffy inside. I came out for some fresh air. But Ethan still held my waist and lifted me to sit on the handrail of the corridor. Wait here for me. When he came back, Ethan had a box in his hand. As I was guessing what was inside, he had already opened it in front of me. Inside was a pair of exquisitely crafted leather shoes. Ethan bent down to put them on me. The shoes are soft leather, very fitting and comfortable. When did you buy them? I asked him. Ethan smiled, his tone very light. I thought they would look great on you when I saw them, so I bought them. His gaze lingered on my feet, but his smile deepened. After all these years, I finally have the chance to put them on you myself. Later, when I went abroad with Ethan to sort out his things, I realized he was telling the truth. In his villa, apart from a bedroom and a study, every other room was filled with things he had bought for me over the years. There were precious jewels, exquisite dresses, high heels, and many expired lipsticks. Why didn't you send them to me? I asked him when I saw those things. Ethan smiled and took out a gemstone necklace from the display cabinet, putting it on me himself. Back then, I thought you liked someone else. His voice was a bit hoarse, so I didn't dare to disturb him. It was clear Ethan was trying hard to hide his sadness. I stepped forward and hugged his waist. Mr. Morgan, please feel free to disturb me more in the future. Ethan pulled me into his arms. I heard his clear voice in my ear, with a hint of a smile. He replied, All right, Mrs. Morgan,